Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Cut by CERATIZIT. The Cut is our regular YouTube talk show where we feature topics from around the world of CERATIZIT, the CERATIZIT Group. Our topics range from new products, events, services, stories, much, much more. This week, we have a great topic coming up. I'm joined by Marcus Brunner, a regional sales manager from CERATIZIT Germany, as well as Norbert Stadler, the marketing coordinator for CERATIZIT Germany. And we have a really, really cool story, which we've taken part in as a CERATIZIT organization about a mountain bike manufactured entirely from a solid block of aluminum, CNC machined using tools from CERATIZIT. Marcus, you were involved right from the beginning with this project as the customer who is taking on this project. Can you, tell us, where did this idea to manufacture an aluminum bike completely from a solid block of aluminum even come from?
Well, that's actually a long story and kind of a historical story, let's say.
Okay.
We had in the former GDR, let's say, some big bike manufacturers, and one of them actually wanted to restart his business more and wanted to bring some new approach in bike development. So actually, one of these bike producers wanted to design or develop a bike made out of solid aluminum in some of their parts, let's say. And so the bike manufacturer went to our end user, to our customer, Mr. Ivanov, and asked him to help with the machining of these bike components made out of solid aluminum. And once this development was more or less successful, actually, the bike manufacturer get bust, let's say. And from this point on, our end user decided to develop his own bike. So Bernd Ivanov decided really to take the next step and develop his own bike, and especially develop his own enduro downhill bike.
Cool. I mean, that's really awesome. We've seen different components for bikes manufactured in the past with CNC machines, obviously, but these were just simply components. I mean, it was really pretty interesting to see some of the video footage of an entire bike frame being manufactured entirely with machining and CNC machining. Norbert, you had an opportunity to visit this particular customer and his project. What were your impressions of seeing this bike manufactured from a solid block of aluminum?
Yeah, as finally I saw the very I saw the bike completely with the bike components. And it was really amazing for me to see this bike. And it is a little bit heavier than the other mountain bikes. It has around about 17 kilogram.
Okay.
And I was wondering if it really works on the downhill part, but it works really. We saw it live in action. Was absolute impressive.
Very cool. So, Marcus, what you also have a background in engineering and machining, and you've been around the metal cutting industry for many years. What makes machining, a bike frame from aluminum such a big challenge? Why hasn't it been done before? And what are some of the challenges behind it?
I think it's a very good question, actually. And actually, I think it's more than just one question. You said, why haven't it been done before? So one of the points, actually, I think it's coming out of the bike business. The conventional bike business is, or there are frames made out of aluminum, but they are all welded. And there is not one bike made out of one single solid block. So actually that's one of the biggest challenges you have. The other big challenge is coming out of the engineering part and coming out of the machining part. We are talking about an aerospace aluminum. So we are talking about a pretty difficult to cut aluminum. And aluminum, it means as well, big amount of costs which you are having buying a solid block of aluminum. You have a solid block which weight is approximately 70 kilogram. And if you have one single crash while machining, if you have one single collision while machining, then the whole frame is done or is gone, is crashed. So actually the biggest and most challenging thing in this case is bringing the big block of 70 kilograms to a whole frame with these many pockets which we have inside this frame. So that means you need to reach long tool life, you need to have good chip evacuation, you need to have like a really sustainable process in metal cutting. And of course, we want to have a pretty, let's say, lightweight bike. So there are a lot of pockets, a lot of thin walls in this component, in this frame. And that means we also have to deal with vibration. It's a pretty challenging machining process of this bike or to produce this bike.
I mean, that's fascinating. I can only imagine, such a big, giant block. And as you mentioned, sourcing a block like that is challenging, getting it loaded in and out of the machine. I mean, is this bike, kind of a concept bike, more for demonstration purposes, or is this something really planned for production runs to, manufacture and put these type of bikes on the market?
He want to put this bike really on the market, and it's planned around about 50 pieces per year.
Okay.
And
manufacture 50 bikes a year.
Yeah. And he started with the prototype, FRACE prototype phase. And it's August, manufacture this bike by CNC machining.
Excellent. Well, that's really cool. I mean, what tools? I mean, how did CERATIZIT, play a role in this? I mean, Marcus, obviously you were heavily involved, but what type of assistance with tool selection and tool recommendation was provided by CERATIZIT in the story of manufacturing this FRACE bike?
Or let's say the most challenging thing are the many pockets which are in this frame. Actually, would be nice to see now the bike, but I guess you can cut it in later on. But
yeah, we'll cut it in some footage.
In the whole frame, in the whole components of the bike. So the pockets are the most important thing and the most challenging thing in producing. We are talking about pockets which are like from 30 to 50 to almost 60. So for these pockets, actually, we needed to select course. We want to be quick as possible, let's say. So we need some innovative tools. We need some innovative crates. We need some, just an innovative or an quick tooling process, let's say. So mainly, of course, we start with some normal, let's say, face milling processes where we use our face milling system, Maximal 211 with an aluminum crate with a polished surface on the inserts. But the most important thing, because of this whole pocket thing and this whole pocket machining thing, we use our CCR line for aluminum. Our CCR line for aluminum means it's an sort 4 trochoidal milling. So that means we are not doing just a pocket by like a starting hole and then machining in conventional ways. So we are doing like trochoidal milling all over these pockets. And by using this technology in comparison or in combination with our tools, with how to say, with our tools, with dragon skin coding, with DLC coding, we can save a lot of time compared to conventional milling process. That means in total, by machining the frame, we could save more than 30% of cycle time in this case. So that's actually enormous.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really cool. Obviously, with trochoidal milling, there's a lot of, a bit of a challenge in the programming process. Was the programming of the machining process is a challenge in particular? I know with trochoidal milling, obviously, our CCR line, is really an ideal tool for that type of process. But I know the programming can be a bit of a challenge. Was there a challenge there?
Actually, our end user, Bernd Ivanov, is really good and really expert in programming.
Oh, cool.
So as he is, how to say, as he is a guy who is used to do developing and used to do different designs and used to like all the machining process and his milling machines, actually, he is really a good programmer. And from my side, of course, it's a very challenging thing to do all these trochoidal passes in the programming, but he did a very well job, and like it was very easy for him, or it seems to be easy for him to implement the trochoidal milling in his frame concept. So we just came up with the idea. We said, okay, yeah, let's go with the CCR line and use the trochoidal milling process instead of a conventional milling process. Pretty easy, let's say.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I know those our CCR line products, they even have special chip breakers that are really well suited for the trochoidal milling process, where the chip breaker, keeps the chip size down to a minimum, because with trochoidal milling, you often get those long, thin, finer chips, but the chip breaking design of the tool really helps to keep that down to a minimum and really effective.
Yeah, Bernd Ivanov was also impressed by the cutting data we used by the CCR milling.
High speeds and feed.
Yeah, right. Because he has no experiences with this kind of milling. He told me that he stood in front of the machine and was like a child to say, "Wow, unbelievable! This kind of cutting speed, wow, unbelievable!" He was really impressed by this.
Cool. So our tool's impressed. That's always good to hear. Obviously, this project got quite a bit of coverage, I know, in the media, quite a bit of attention, being kind of the first of its kind. It was, Norbert, what some of the media coverage that the
really,
bike?
there was a 6-pager on a really famous German bike magazine. And this was, how to say, it was a night, Ritterschlag. Markus, what does a Ritterschlag means?
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a
sorry.
night fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this was a great thing. But for me, I was really impressed by the one-pager at the one of the biggest German newspaper, the Bild Zeitung.
Okay.
And it's not normal to get this big feature in such a newspaper. That was great. Yeah.
Cool.
And for the future, there will be a lot of other magazines will put this story into the magazines, so we get more media coverage in future.
Cool. Excellent. What's the deal with the name? Who wants to explain FRACE Bike? I mean, I know as a...
I guess this is my part.
Yeah, I speak, German and English, so I happen to kind of be able to make the connection. But I think most English-speaking people in the machining industry or machinists are not necessarily aware of the term, phrasen. Phrasen is the term for milling. And I'm
of milling. Yeah,
guessing this is the play on words, right? That's kind of my guess. Norbert, maybe you know some more.
yeah, yeah. It's really a play on words by German, because a phrase means milling, and race means in German Rennen fahren, or yeah, racing. And so that's a mixture of both words. So it's phrase, and phrase means milling. Yeah. So that's behind this word on play.
So the FRACE Bike, manufactured
FRACE Bike, yeah.
entirely with CERATIZIT tools. Yeah. All right, it's a really cool story. I saw we produced a image video kind of telling the story. We got some great footage of Bernd Ivanov. We did some interviews, and we got some stuff coming out. Please check out our YouTube channel to take a look at that. And if you're interested, there's even more details, some technical details, which we'll put up on our website, cuttingtools.ceratizit.com. You'll be able to find a landing page for that story with all kinds of details and further information for learning more about the manufacturing process of this really impressive, bike innovation, or innovation to the mountain bike industry. Yeah, that's pretty much our episode. Thank you guys very much for taking the time to be on The Cut. The host, Brian Lorenzen, Norbert Stadler, marketing coordinator from Germany, and Marcus Brunner, regional sales manager. Thank you guys very much. And yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
That's it.
Thank you, Brian.
Take care, guys. Yeah, have a good one. Thanks again.
Have a good one. Take good care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.